Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Salisbury City Council work session for July 6th, 2020. We have a brief agenda, fairly brief agenda tonight, and we'll begin first with a resolution accepting donations of masks for Salisbury Police Department. He's not here.
Captain Drewer, I think.
Captain Drewer, go ahead.
Yes. So the masks that we're talking about, we received an amount of masks that are the Maryland State masks, as well as ones that have Old Spice, what is it? The Obey company. I'm sorry. Just thinking about my dad for a second. Had Obey on it. We are wearing the Maryland ones, of course, in uniform, and then we purchased an amount after the fact from the same company, but they were donated to us at the beginning of COVID-19.
Fantastic. At this time, anybody have any questions or comments? And if you have none, please comment whether you would be in support of moving it to the agenda. Mr. Boda.
I support moving it forward.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
I support moving it forward.
Mrs. Gregory.
Support moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. It'll be on the next agenda. Next, we have a resolution accepting donation of gym floor for Salisbury Police Department. Officer Barry Tucker is going to handle that one, I believe. Barry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, the chief asked me to reach out to a Brendan McWilliams who has some mats for sale on Facebook for, we've converted the wash bay into a temporary gym area so people could do some, fitness outside and stuff. And when I contacted him, he said, with everything going on with the police, he's supportive of the police and wanted to go ahead and donate them. It's probably around $300 or so worth of the big 2x2 square foot rubber mats.
Fantastic.
Yep, that was about it.
Very thoughtful. We'll use the same procedure. Please say whether you move it forward to the next agenda. Mr. Boda?
Yep, move it forward.
Ms. Jackson? You're on mute.
Emma, thank you.
Yeah, now you're okay.
Thanks to the person who did donate them and move it forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
Move forward.
Thank you very much. Next, we have EDU Incentive Area discussion. Department of Infrastructure and Development Director, Amanda Pollock.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So this is a continuation of some of our discussions about EDU incentive areas and capacity fees and connection fees. We're getting really close to using all of the EDUs from the initial EDU bank. If you recall, back when this program was put into place in 2013, we had originally had an allocation of 300 EDUs from the Linens of the Week property. And so we've been tracking that over the years as development and redevelopment has occurred. And you'll see so far to date, we have allocated 271 EDUs. So we only have about 29 EDUs left from that original bank. So it's an appropriate time to talk about, do we want to continue some sort of program along these lines? How would that look? Would we do this with setting another limit on number of EDUs, or would we make stricter criteria? So I wanted to give you a little bit of a picture. This is just for discussion today. We have not presented something to actually move to legislative session. I have talked to Mark, and I know he's on today and will weigh in. Whatever we do would need to be with an ordinance because it is changing the code. This EDU incentive area is in the code, so it would not be just a simple resolution. We would need to make code changes. So I wanted to give you a little bit of the big picture on the downtown projects in particular and what already has allocations versus what we know that's coming that has not received or requested an EDU allocation. So in particular, projects that are ongoing downtown, including the Ross, Lot 16 and the Beer Garden, the Powell Building, and 500 Riverside Drive have all received these allocations in the past few years. Projects that have not gotten to the point to apply for these yet, but I'm sure will be interested, include lots 1 and 11, so the large parking lot by the library, the marina, and then lots 10 and 30, which are a little bit further off. Lot 10 is the one by the court building, and lot 30 is over near Chesapeake East. So just to give you an idea, lot 1 at this point is proposing about 197 residential units plus commercial space. So that's a significant number. And the marina has been proposing about 56 residential units, the boathouse, and commercial space. So, those two projects alone will be coming close to 300 EDUs, frankly. So I just wanted to give you that idea. Originally the intent of this program was to encourage development and redevelopment in specific areas. The downtown development districts, riverfront redevelopment, that central business district, essentially. There was criteria in the original ordinance from 2013, and that is something we could look at maybe tightening up or improving or just revising that criteria to make sure that if the council is interested in giving waivers, that the projects are truly meeting goals that we have, that we're trying to achieve, whether that be increasing increasing housing for people making a living wage, or whatever the specific criteria is. The last ordinance's criteria had things that it had to be consistent with the plan of transformation from 2012 and some other things like that. But we've come a long way in this amount of time, so it's probably appropriate to look at some of that criteria. And I don't know, Mark, I know you're on. I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on we had talked a little bit about the number of EDUs, where this was a specific bank versus picking a new number, if that's an option for us.
Yeah, under the original plan, I think that the statute itself only allowed for affordable housing waivers of EDUs. And so this new thing was intended to be a way to do it without violating the code, because you had these extra EDUs that were there that could be utilized. So what we're probably going to have to do is whatever criteria the council wants to set to, promote growth and where you want growth to be, is just set up something similar to what we have with affordable housing, but just put the parameters on it that you want to put on it. A certain area, you could even limit it to a certain type of development if you wanted to. You can put whatever you want on it. But I think that's what we need, that kind of change in the code in order to justify this new thing, because without having EDUs in a bank, it's really a waiver.
Thank you, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, if I could ask you to do me a favor, would you send the current criteria to all the council members so we can take a look at it?
Yes.
That'll give us an opportunity to review it ourselves.
It is in the work session package as well. Behind my memo, Exhibit B was the existing criteria. It's not very long. It was pretty simple.
Hold on one second. I want to make sure.
Sure.
I got it. Oh, I see it now. I just read the head page. Okay.
And I do want to make one other point where we certainly want to consider what the city's role in projects like Lot 1 in the marina. Capacity fees are typically paid when a developer is trying to get their water meter. So obviously neither of those projects are close to that point. However, a lot of projects like to get this waiver very early on when they're almost done design and breaking ground on construction, because it shows their bank and their financiers that they have the backing of the city. So
Right.
that's the only urgency here. It's not like they're about to put water meters in place. However, I'm sure they're both getting their financing packages lined up.
Any other questions from the council members? Mr. Boda?
This has been a great tool to help with development, and specifically, as we've seen, they use it for the financing aspect of it. So I'm supportive of continuing the program, and I do think, since we got these two projects, discussing an appropriate number maybe to add to the bank to get through those, and then if we're long-term looking at different areas where we want to target for development, we could create a broader policy or parameters to allow for that. Because eventually we're going to build out the downtown, which is what we've been targeting. But I think we should, look at the number that we're going to need to maybe add to the bank and leave a little flexibility in there in case there's a couple other projects that come along. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts.
Ms. Jackson?
I agree with Mayor. I agree.
Okay. Mrs. Gregory?
Agree.
I think that we have certainly agreement that we should either refill the bank, so to speak. If I remember correctly, Amanda, we were talking about the remodeling of the whole system. And if I recall, you said it's going to be over a year before we can get the whole thing squared away.
Well, I hope not that long. I do think it'll take a few months. I'm still working through those changes, and then I will send them to Mark's office to have legal review them, but it was significant. So I think that'll take a little bit longer than probably what we want to do with the EDU incentive area. So I think it's probably in our best interest and our developers' best interest if we do this first and go ahead and get this moving, and then let those other changes follow. So that's why this is being discussed separately, is I think we can go ahead and if you'd like, I can work with Julia and Andy and propose some specific criteria, since that sounds like the direction that we want to go in.
Yeah, I think definitely that needs to get done, and you're the guys that should be able to do that. The other thing that the reason I asked about how long it was going to take, let's make sure we don't have to go back in before we get to the next stage. If someone else wants to avail themselves of this. So I'm not saying pad it, but what I'm saying is let's be realistic when we look at those developments that are in the queue and are probably going to come up before we have the final revision on the next phase.
Yeah, and so to Mark's point, the way the affordable housing waiver was done is it was not a bank. There was no cap on numbers. It was very tight criteria. So I think we may want to look at it that way, tighter criteria, and kind of get away from, we had a specific number because of linens of the week, and any new number we put on would probably be arbitrary. So we may want to just tighten criteria instead of set a new cap. And then each project obviously will come before you, so the merits can be discussed. And we'll do, just like we have been, a separate resolution for each waiver. But that may make more sense going forward because it will give us that flexibility to really look at each project based on their merits.
Sounds good. Let's proceed with that then. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Julia, who's going to handle the Stonegate speed limit? Update us on that in terms of the study that was done.
I can talk about it. Angela isn't here, right? So a few months ago, there was an ask from Councilwoman Blake to do a speed study in the Stonegate neighborhood. We conducted that. There were 436 hits on the stuff on the ground. I don't know the terminology for this. The average speed was 22 miles per hour. The posted speed limit is 30. The ask or the consideration was, do we want to reduce that to 25? Based off of this information and Bill Sterling's recommendation, there is no need to reduce it to 25. we certainly can, but the data is not backing that up. So really, that's the gist of it, and the decision's up to you all.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Comments, questions, Mr. Boda?
What is, I don't know if Amanda's still on, but with the Plan Zero, what's the targeted speed limit for residential neighborhoods like that?
I can't answer that, honestly. I don't know. I know the bulk of that was to target areas that had, were higher in risk, intersections and things like that. I would guess that Stonegate's probably not one of those high risk locations.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can ask Will or Amanda.
Okay.
You want more information on that, but
Yeah, her concern is probably just people occasionally flying through the neighborhood to get home quick or get to work, and which is why your average speed's 22. So.
Ms. Jackson, comments?
I do remember the mayor saying when we talked about this topic that there were going to be some changes in some communities in reference to the speed limit. And if the statistics in that community says it's 22 miles per hour, the average 22 miles an hour, and the speed limit is already what, 30?
yes.
I don't see where it needs to be changed.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Mrs.
welcome.
Gregory?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if the speed limit the average is 22 and the speed limit is 30, it doesn't seem to be a problem then.
Yeah, I concur with everyone as well. It doesn't make much sense to reduce it when it's already below what the new speed limit would be. So I think that's a good, and I will call Angela myself and explain that to her. So thank you, Julia. Appreciate it. Thank Bill too, please, for that for us.
I will. Thanks.
Next on the agenda is ordinance accepting donated match funds for the Port of Salisbury study, and we have grants manager Deborah Stam on the.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In 2019, the City of Salisbury was awarded grant funds in the amount of $37,500 from the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration for the Salisbury Port Feasibility Study. And the city was required to provide matching funds for the project in an amount equal to the grant, which would therefore give us a total project budget of $75,000. Two local businesses who are interested in having a port located in Salisbury and are supportive of the Port Feasibility Study project wish to assist the city in this endeavor by providing a portion of the required matching funds. They have provided donations to the project as follows. The Vane Brothers Companies has provided a donation in the amount of $1,000, and Chesapeake Shipbuilding Corporation has provided a donation in the amount of $3,000. So we just need to go ahead and accept these donated funds so that we can set up the grant account and move forward.
Thank you, Debbie. Same procedure, Mr. Boda?
I agree with accepting them and moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
I accept and I agree.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
Accept and agree.
Thank you. And I want to thank Chesapeake Shipbuilding and the Zane Brothers for their contributions. Every little bit helps.
Indeed.
And it's an important project. So we need to make sure this thing goes forward. So that will be on the next agenda, council agenda. Thank you, Ms. Stam.
Thank you.
That covers, I believe, all the items on the agenda. I'll open the floor now for remarks for good of the order. Before I do that, though, Ms. Glanz, do we have anybody on the call that wants to make a comment?
We don't have any guests with us.
Thank you. Good remarks for the good of the order. Mr. Boda.
Happy belated 4th to everybody. Good to see everybody again with a week off, and hopefully at some point soon we'll we'll all be back together.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Jackson.
Yes, just remember to stay safe, stay healthy. Remember, COVID is still alive and well. And just take care of yourselves.
Thank you, April. Mrs. Gregory.
Try to stay cool out there. Take care of yourself. Wear a mask. Stay home if you can.
Thank you, Michelle. Ms. Blake is not with us tonight, but I want to, as I normally do, second her reminder about blood. The blood bank is still low. We've had a drive, reasonably successful, but we need to make sure that the blood bank is full. So I encourage anybody that's able to please give blood. Everyone stay safe. And with that, we'll close the work session and we will open the special meeting today. And I'll call that meeting to order, July 6th, 2020 special meeting of the Salisbury City Council. I'd like to welcome everybody, and I'd like to take a moment of silent meditation or prayer. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Boda, Ms. Jackson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda,
Aye.
Ms. Jackson,
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2608 for the first reading.
So move.
Ms. Jackson, Mr. Boda. Mr. Tillman, good evening.
Good evening. Ordinance number 2608 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury accepting donated funds from the Vane Brothers Companies in the amount of $1,000 and the Chesapeake Shipbuilding Corporation in the amount of $3,000 to be utilized as matching funds for EDA Grant 0169-14848, which has been awarded to the city, and amending the FY 2021 grant fund budget to appropriate these donated funds for a port feasibility study. Whereas the United States Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration has awarded the City of Salisbury $37,500 for the Salisbury Port Feasibility Study, and whereas the City of Salisbury is required to provide matching funds for the project in the amount of $37,500 for a total project budget of $75,000, and whereas the city has accepted donations from local business owners interested in having a port located in Salisbury and who wish to assist in this endeavor by providing a portion of the required matching funds, and whereas the Vane Brothers Companies has provided a donation in the amount of $1,000, and whereas Chesapeake Shipbuilding has provided a donation in the amount of $3,000, and whereas the city has included the remaining matching funds of $33,500 in the FY 2021 budget in Schedule C, and whereas appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of the EDA grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city accepts the aforementioned donated funds to be spent as outlined in the associated EDA grant agreement attached here too. Be it further ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury that the city's fiscal year 2021 grant fund budget be and is hereby amended as follows. Increase port feasibility study revenue account by $4,000, and 2, increase in the consulting fees expense account by $4,000.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Any questions or comments? Mr. Boda,
No comments.
Ms. Jackson,
No comments.
Ms. Gregory.
No comments.
Thank you. Hearing that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2608 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda,
Aye.
Ms. Jackson,
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. Once again, I want to thank the Vane Brothers and Chesapeake Shipbuilding for their donations. And we'll have the second reading at the next council meeting. Ms. Glanz, anything from the mayor's office before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Okay.
Good seeing
Do we have
everybody.
any comments from the public?
We do not.
Thank you. Remarks for the good of the order, Mr. Boda?
Just keep supporting our local businesses and restaurants as they still try to get back on their feet and have a good summer.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Have a safe summer, and I'll be glad when we can all see each other face to face.
I triple that motion. Mrs. Gregory?
Same goes for me. I'll be very, very glad when this is all over. But until then, just stay safe, wear your masks.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. President,
yes.
I do have one thing I forgot. Ron Strickler started today, Director of Housing and Community Development. And Andy was spending a lot of time with him today. And I popped in for a few minutes, and I spent probably 20 minutes with him. First time I met him in person, and we made a really good decision. So I appreciate the support, and you'll be seeing him soon.
Fantastic. Thank you. The only comment I made is I went to the opening of the zoo over the weekend. And I will tell you, they did a remarkable job. Leonora, Mary and the crew. It was so well organized. I'll tell you, if everybody was as good at making sure that the CDC guidelines were followed as the zoo is, we would be much better off as a country. And I want to thank them publicly for what they've done. And it was good to see Pinocchio, and it was good to see things that I haven't seen, the sloths, and it was really, really, really good. So congratulations to the zoo. They will be open next weekend, I believe, correct? The 9th, I think is the...
Yep. Friday.
Yeah.
The public.
For the public, yeah. This was for members. The last weekend was members only. So once again, thank you. And the last thing I want to mention is, and it's on the city site, and I will put it on my site as well, the grant program from SWED, through SWED, from the state is on the website. For all those small businesses that are hurting or have been hurt, please go on there and see if you're eligible, because the latest thing that I got today was there is still money available for those businesses. So please try to take advantage of it if you need it. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We are adjourned. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.